coming to. You're coming to. You're coming to. All right. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. And let's get this off of you. All right. How you doing? All right. I know you must have a lot of questions, but you're back. All right, you're back. Do you remember where you're supposed to be coming back to? I just got to do a quick checkup on you, make sure that everything's okay, and then we can continue, okay? All right. Let's go ahead and put this to the side. All right. And then I got to get some of this up into the time travel apparatus up here. Yep, this is the part that the biomedical engineers have said we have to do as soon as you come back. Alright, so while I'm making sure that the mechanism's all set and you're going to be okay, can you go ahead and tell me what's your name? I know. I gotta make sure you still know. And your date of birth? Alright, you're a little bit off, but that's okay. I know it's confusing because now you've been in somebody else's brain. But it's good to know you're not, you're back where you are. You're no longer a Viking, right? Okay. And then can you go ahead and tell me, can you tell me when we are? What day it is? Exactly. Yeah. Okay. That's exactly right. I just got to make sure that you're coming back to the appropriate time and you remember what happened, right? Exactly. You're part of the secret agency. And through this time travel apparatus, we've come here to Iceland. Exactly right. Perfect. All right. Looks like this is all set over here. So keep this connected over here. All right, my dear. Can I have you follow my finger? Perfect. Okay, I'm going to touch your cheeks. Does this feel the same on your forehead, on your cheeks, and on your chin? Okay, same on both sides. Perfect. Can you hear this? Let me have you do this on the one ear. Same thing here. Alright, I want you to tell me when you hear it. I'm going to start far away and come in. Same thing on the other side. Tell me when you hear it. Perfect. Okay. Can you tell me what this letter is? Perfect. Okay. And then, can you do me a favor and smile real big for me? Okay. Oh, that's the timer. I can take this off now. Yeah, there's some immune system things that happen with the travel, right? Because obviously we're extrapolating backwards to other periods of time. Using the chemical composition in the location that we're trying to, look back and see what happened in the past there. So it's in some ways a more advanced form of archaeology based on the kind of phytochemical archaeological adaptations that have happened in the past several years. But we can talk about that more later. I gotta make sure you're okay for now. So yeah, so I can take this off now because it's good. The apparatus, everything, the special liquid went through fine. So that's all okay. Absolutely. Well, essentially we have to make sure that the nanoparticulate matter doesn't have any issues breaking down when your biological fluids interact with the biological fluids present in the machine. So, and that can cause bacterial and viral issues here in the present day. So, but it's good. I'm good to take this off now. Okay. Can I have you smile real big like this? Wrinkle your forehead. Okay, close your eyes real tight and open them again. Okay. And go ahead and purse your lips. And this is just checking the rest of your cranial nerves. We're doing a little bit of a neurological exam here. Can you puff out your cheeks? Perfect. Okay, can you open your mouth? I'm going to have you open your mouth and say, ah. Okay. And then can I have you look at this light here? And then the other eye. Perfect. Okay. That's perfect. Okay. And then, so we've gotten cranial nerves 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 9 and 10. Could you open your mouth and say, ah? Can I have you stick out your tongue and move it from side to side? Perfect. Okay. And then can I have you shrug your shoulders against my hands here, against resistance? Good, nice and strong. All right. And then I need you to do this. We want to check your cerebellar function. Other side, do this. Okay, do like this. Quickly. All right. Touch your nose and then touch my finger. Okay, your nose first and then my finger. Go ahead. Over here. Over here. Over here. Okay. All right. Can you take your ankle and run it from your knee down to your other ankle? Same thing. Touch your knee with your ankle on the other side and run it all the way down to your ankle. Perfect. Okay, so cerebellar function, that's good. Let's do a little bit of motor function. Can you squeeze my hand real tight? Perfect. All right. Push up against my arms. Good. Push out with your hands. All right, push in. Okay. Lift up your knee. Lift up the other knee. All right, kick out this leg. Kick out this other leg. All right, flex your big toe for me. Flex your other big toe for me. Perfect. Okay. That's good. I'm going to do a little bit more of a sensory exam. So you're going to feel my finger. You can feel, this is what my finger feels like, right? And this is what kind of a sharp little tip feels like. Okay, I'm going to have you close your eyes. I'm going to poke you different places. I want you to point to where I'm poking you and tell me whether I'm poking with the finger or the sharp edge. Okay? All right, close your eyes. All right, here. Where am I poking? All right, what am I poking with? Okay, over here. Where am I poking? What am I poking with? Okay. And then here. Perfect. Okay. And then over here. Good. And here. Good. And here. And here. And here. Excellent. Okay, and then how about over here? And here. And here. Perfect. Okay. Alright, very good. Alright, wiggle your fingers and your toes for me again. Excellent. That's really good. Okay, so neurologically you're intact. I'm pretty happy with that. Alright. And then I have you hooked up to this heart monitor over here, so that's good. Yep. Okay. Any headache, chest pain, right upper quadrant pain? Okay, any abdominal pain, discomfort? Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea you feel? You've only been awake for a little bit, so you might not know. Okay, any tingling anywhere? Okay. Alright. And any, like, tension in your jaw? Okay. Are you seeing me okay? Any issues, blurred vision or anything? Okay, perfect. Alright. So, well, from my preliminary tests, I'm pretty happy. Your CT scan came back normal, so that was good. Sometimes there are some abnormalities where, due to changes in blood pressure, due to changes in immune system reaction during the essentially mental time travel process, there actually can be some biological reactions. So, I don't know if you've ever heard of Takotsubo. So Takotsubo is a heart disorder that can happen when somebody is very, very sad. It was originally discovered by a scientist in Japan. And where actually somebody, because they're so sad, they release certain neuroendocrine abnormalities that actually cause their heart heart walls to dilate. Yeah, it's a real thing. Look it up. Cause their heart walls to dilate, and then they can have problems, and actually have heart failure because of sadness. And so that similar reaction, the mental stress and anguish of being in the body of someone else a long time ago who died, and especially if you experience anything stressful, sometimes your body can react, even though you physically aren't going back in time and getting stabbed, for example. You might have a blood pressure raise and a neuroendocrine abnormality that can cause parts of your body to react with bleeds as if you had been stabbed. So on the outside there might just be a little red mark, and inside you might have, an injury. So what I'm saying is it works via a similar mechanism of action as the Takotsubo does. Exactly. But your CT scan came back normal, and then we'll do some more mental checks and interactions as we go on. You're going to be with me pretty consistently over the next couple weeks, just so that we can make sure you're transitioning back into 2020 appropriately. Okay. But my preliminary checks, I'm fairly happy. You're going to need to take medications for a couple days. It's basically some anti-inflammatory antibiotic and a little bit of immune system modulators for a little bit, just because of how aggressively the neuroendocrine system reacts. And then we'll evaluate and see if I need to put any neuromodulators or antidepressants on board while we're adjusting to the time travel return process. I'm hoping that we can manage all the emotional stuff, just you and I talking. So, oh, that's good. Not everyone comes back as chipper as you are. And you saw the axe. So we're going to be able to find the axe. That's exciting. Well, you've done a great service. All right. I'm going to let you work on your report now, okay? And then after you've worked on your report, we're going to go on and continue on with the mission. So, but what we'll do is we'll, make sure. The big reason is we want to... I'm sure you remember the large studies with PTSD where soldiers who returned to the fight immediately ended up having better outcomes than soldiers who were pulled out. Ones who returned to the fight immediately ended up not developing PTSD because it normalized the trauma that they had undergone. Since, as we were monitoring, it does seem... So yeah, did you have any traumatic, impressive events that occurred while you were back? Yeah, that'll do it. So because of that, when I kind of be watching, I'm going to have you write out your report now of all the things that you've experienced. This is extremely important, not just for your mental well-being, but obviously for the mission as well, so that we can find the axe. But for you got to be very, very detailed. I want you to be detailed too about the bad stuff, the stuff that was uncomfortable, because that's going to help you metabolize it appropriately. It's based on a psychological principle called extinction. Sorry, not extinction, flooding. Exactly. It's something that's actually used in therapy for people with PTSD. You're not going to have PTSD because we are going to prevent it. We're going to make sure that you're right back into the action immediately, that you're metabolizing all the details appropriately, that you have a good support system around you, and that you're able to kind of metabolize. A lot of times people have some moral injury that might have occurred because of the mismatch between the belief system that you were suddenly thrust into, being in the body and mind of that other person a long time ago, and your current belief system now. You've just been in that mindset now and felt like that was you, so you can have sometimes it can be a good thing having a little bit of a different perspective, but obviously there are some things, for example, there are things that the Vikings did that are incredibly horrible, and that's been normalized to you now, having been in that mindset. So coming back, making sure that any moral injury is worked through and you get back into your own identity appropriately is something that we're going to make sure to be careful of. So what I want you to do now, you're going to go ahead and take your medications, okay? So I'm going to put these here for you. And I'm going to have you take one more deep breath from here just to finish everything off. And listen to your breathing for a little bit right through here. You're giving me a little bit of trouble here with your head and all these wires. Alright, a couple more deep breaths. Perfect. Okay, I'm happy with this. I think we're going to have some good outcomes here. Alright, and then I'll have you go ahead and write your stuff up. We're going to dive right back into the action. And then once we're finished, we're going to get you a good night's sleep, okay? Alright. Alright, my dear. Oh, and then once you finish writing out your report, come back to me. I'm going to do a couple more checks on your face and a little bit of gear installation. You should be all set. Everything's installed correctly. Yep. So, now it's my turn. You have to answer a question for me. Where are we going? Because I've been assigned to go with you. Yeah. That sounds good. Well, let's do that. So you're saying that basically the axe has ended up at some kind of museum. Or might be. Okay. There might be some clues among the artifacts there. Okay. Well, we'll have to check out the artifacts there. Because we have to make a deal. So you're saying we might have to steal something. So we have to case it to see if we need to steal something. Okay. It would be nice, ideally, not to do that. Hey there, we ready to go? Alright, let's go have a look. So, let's go over some protocol real quick. We are entering, illegally after hours, so we have to be very quiet and careful. We're not going to steal anything unless we absolutely have to, okay? If we find out that he is there. What do you mean, who is he? I didn't say anything about any he. You're getting a little weird. Sometimes there's weird time dissociation effects after you've been time traveling. It might be because of that, but I didn't say anything about any he. No. Well, we'll go check out the museum and so forth. Did you take your medication yet? Here. I know, I always put them in the large safe boxes. Take them with you, carry them on you. They sound nice, right? Alright. It's just gonna be a good evening, secret romp through the museum. Exactly. And then, afterwards, we will do, I think that's gonna be good enough. Yeah. Okay. Alright, let's make it happen. Quiet. Now, the moon is so bright tonight. It's really, really bright. It should be fairly easy to find what we're looking for, right? Just be in and out. that was an unpleasant fall. Okay, don't move. We gotta make sure that your spine is okay. All right, I'm gonna come over behind you. You don't move. Okay. What I'm doing right now, I'm touching all along your spine. Can you go ahead and tell me? Go ahead and wiggle your toes for me. Wiggle your fingers for me. Okay. Slowly move your head from side to side. How far can you move without hurting? I'm not gonna. Okay, good. You can move all the way. Yeah, how about up and down? Okay. Any pain here? Any pain over here? Okay. Hold on just a second. Let me see. I need to examine your leg here. That was a pretty rough fall. Yeah. It's okay. It happens to the best of us when climbing on the roofs of museums. I agree that we're probably good to keep going, but I have to check you out, It's my responsibility as your physician. Okay. Alright, I think that's looking okay over here. Just checking, there's no bleeding. Alright, move your leg up and down for me. Move your arms. Okay. You know where you are? Okay, what's your name? This is part of cervical spine clearance. And then you're sober, right? You didn't drink anything before we came out? Okay, excellent. And I don't see any major distracting injuries. That's good. Alright, what number would you put your pain when I push on your neck here? Okay, that's not bad. Yeah. No, 7. At 7, I can't clear you anymore. Yeah. Alright, and that's 30 degrees in each direction. So we're good to go. I mean, that's your back exam, for that part anyway. I'd like to check. I'm going to do a slightly more in-depth back exam, and then we're going to keep moving. Okay. At least we fell down in the museum, and we're in a safe area. Exactly. So, let me have you lift up your big toe. Just your big toe. Okay. And then lift just your knee. All right. Kick your knee out. All right. Try to open your legs. Try to close your legs. All right. Squeeze my fingers as hard as you can. Excellent. Okay. All right. Push your hands up. Push your hands to the side. Excellent. Okay. It hurts here. Yeah. You don't have any vertebral tenderness, so that's good. How far can you move, stretching back and forward? Oh, yeah, it hurts. Okay. Yeah, you're walking like a pro. I agree. I think you're going to be good to go. All right. Then we shall keep moving. Watch out, it's a security guard. Let's duck into this exhibit here. That's good. Take notes, but keep an eye out for the axe. Oh, you are taking a lot of notes. Are you planning on stealing something, or do you just... Yeah, this is Islamic art exhibit. Yeah. Important texts, you say? Oh, I see. There's hints here about something else. Okay. I know it's dark. It's hard to see the good stuff in the dark. You gotta get the axe and go. We should come back when it's light. You can do more of the research you want to do better during the day. Uh-oh. There it is. Quick. We have very limited time. I think they're going to be onto us. You gotta grab it and go. You know you can't take anything else. Let's go. Come on, let's go. And at long last, we have it. Let's inspect it. Make sure everything is in order. Now this is fascinating. The little symbol of the maker. It's from the Middle East. You mentioned that your Viking friend had been trading. I see. Well, Damascus steel was originally meant a strength of steel that was used in Viking axes, and that steel had come from the Middle East. But this is different. this isn't Damascus steel by strength, and this isn't even Viking. This isn't what we call a Dane axe. It's more of a work axe, and it's in the shape more like a First Nations tomahawk with a peace pipe attached. That's fascinating. The ancient world was much more interconnected and multicultural than we often think. The Vikings did travel to North America and learn things like this. At the same time, they bought their steel from the Middle East. So this is not strictly a Viking Dane axe. It's more of an axe that you could use for multi-purpose, for working, or even for throwing. That's why it's such a fascinating specimen. So multicultural in its design, and yet inherently traditional. Let's see, there's some little scratches on here. It's truly beautiful. Beautiful design. So this is the Damascus pattern, where many different bars of steel are forge welded together, and then folded, and then forge welded together again, many, many, many times. Many, 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 many times. I'm glad that you agreed to come to the museum with me during the day. Look how lovely it is. It's much better this way, and you can do some of that research you want to do, see some of the art throughout time. They have art from all over the world here, and that can help us kind of pick. Absolutely. Yeah. Where you want to go next in time. Well, if we have the molecular structure of an art piece, and we know where it was made, we can send you back in time. We can go to that place, and then put you back into the time travel trance. Time travel trance. What a funny series of words. And then from there, that's right, this is the exhibit you didn't get to see very well at night. Look how pretty all these things are. Oh my goodness. So we could go to the Middle East and put you in the time travel trance there, and you can go back and see these things as they're made and touch them and follow them throughout time. It's certainly a possibility. And see all the bright colors of what this rug once was, right? Absolutely. So, this is still the Islamic art exhibit. The restrictions in a lot of Islamic areas that you weren't allowed to make representations of figures and animals and so forth caused there to be a lot of really beautiful geometric art. Because, shapes and things, basically boundaries and restrictions, can actually give way to some beautiful, beautiful forms. And obviously, not everyone held strictly to that. There is some representative art here. There are a couple of animals and things. It depends on where you specifically were. And of course, Islamic art refers to art in that region, not necessarily with a religious connotation in those regions throughout history, is what I mean. These are gorgeous, oh my goodness. Absolutely, I would love to have one, but why are you... Oh, I see. You still have a little bit of Viking mode in you from where you traveled back. Okay, you need to get back into where you are now. You can't steal stuff. Stealing is not okay. Okay, I know that the person whose brain you were trapped in while you were time traveling, I know that person thought that a certain measure of stealing was okay and that might makes right and so forth. But that's not you, and that's not the truth, right? We don't take stuff. That's why you were acting a little weird last night, isn't it? Look at this. Yeah, it's a Jewish symbol. Obviously, there were going to be Jewish and Christian artists in the Islamic-controlled areas. There's a lot of politics throughout history. There have been different relationships between all these groups. It's not as clear-cut as we try to make
send you back in time to see them being made and enjoy them. Yes. Well, the axe is a different thing, because the axe doesn't belong here. There's some transcendental properties related to it, right? Look at that one. Absolutely. Yeah, we're in a different section of the museum now, of course. Different time. Look at that. These are different art pieces with different legends behind them. Look at that. I think that's the Virgin Mary, right? Yeah. Look how pretty. All these different pieces. So yes, no, we can't just take things. With the axe we have to, because there's a greater good situation going on. Absolutely. We've received intel that the forces of evil want to use it to destroy the world. So we don't really have time to negotiate with museum holders at this point in time. But as soon as we've figured out what's done and what we need, we can put it back just as easily as we took it out. And since it was in their storage area, I don't think they knew. Oh yeah, you're not even listening to me, are you? You're reading that. Okay. But the point being, you can't just take stuff. I will not cover for you if you come in here and start taking all of these things. You like that, huh? Yeah. Absolutely. That's a really neat story, huh? Interesting. Look at that. Oh, it's so old. Oh, some European art here now, too. Oh, what a neat. This is a special exhibit. Oh, you read very fast. I might have to pause and slow down to read everything. Of course. Oh, how fascinating. I didn't know you had such an eye for art. Hey, so while we're walking together, can I just
Pinch your fingers real quick. Yep, what I'm doing is I'm just checking your capillary refill. So, the reason for that is, even though I know your hydration state is good because I've had you connected to tubes for, the weeks that you've been out, even though I know that, sometimes there are some kind of unusual little immune responses that we see following a pretty intensive long time traveling session like you've had. And because you have now been in a place, your body hasn't really, but certain aspects of basically the time travel fluids and everything like that, the aspect of getting you basically into the body of that person way back then, right? So that you can experience the things they experience, basically reliving the shadows and those memories, right? That's why we're here in Iceland instead of back where the agency base is, because we have to be in this place to access the memories of this place in order to access the past, right? Well, part of the reason we can do that is because the molecular signature, right? Everything that all the different molecules that have been here, right? What might be a tree now, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, those molecules, were part of something that were part of dirt, that were maybe part of a dead person, that was part of something, because the way that the law of conservation of matter works. We always are cycling through all these different molecules. So, right, when you die, you go into the earth, and the earth uses up your molecules and puts it into things like trees, and parts of it goes into the air, and so forth. So being in this location, we can access some of the memory of those molecules, essentially, by if we can track where those molecules have been, and we can track their history, then we can recreate the past memory, right? And that's essentially what you're doing. But part of that is, as we are accessing this entire past timeline through what happened with the molecules in this place, as we're accessing those elements and those changes and those chemical breakdowns, part of the problem is that the immune systems back then were different from the immune systems now, and it's not like your body didn't time travel back there, so you shouldn't have an immune response. But for whatever reason, a little bit poorly understood, as you're transitioning through those different phases, there are some unusual neurotransmitter releases that can happen from your brain and from the stress of interacting with all this, chemical past, basically. And as you're kind of going through that experience and transformation, some people do have a kind of neuromodulated immune system reaction. And one of the things that I look for is little splinter hematomas under the fingernails. And for whatever reason, sometimes a lot of those people have a delayed capillary refill, even with a normally adequate hydration status. Yeah, exactly. So, time travel science, right? Okay. But we need to get you debriefed and get the information that you got. So, did you find it? Okay. All right, yeah. Well, you'll need to submit your report, and then I guess we're going to have to go looking for it if it's not, because we're going to have to track it through the history books. Since we have kind of an idea where it is, we have to figure out where it went after that. Yeah, so we're going to have to do a little more research, a little more archaeology. But that's good. That's good, you found it. So we found the right time period, basically. That's fantastic. Yeah, that Damascus steel. Oh, that's exciting. Okay. How are you doing? Well, they died, so. But we got you out of there before that happened, I think, right? You did not experience the death, did you? Okay. Gonna sneak in under here and get to your head. All these wires and things. I know. Well, it's amazing technology, right? Whoever thought, like, biomedical time travel instead of time travel based on physics? Well, it's kind of like, how we understand a lot of past now as there's, the entire field of phytochemical archaeology now, where by analyzing different molecules in the dirt, we are now able to track, like, what plants might have grown here and know more about the history, because now we have molecular analysis, right? So we don't just have to look at a pot and make guesses about a time period based on a pot. We can look at the, various different compounds in the earth and figure out chemicals backwards to figure out what might have caused those compounds and what probably happened in that area. And that works really well because there were a lot of civilizations that were more biodegradable than our civilization, a little more sustainable, and so their stuff would have disappeared, so they don't leave traces behind. So trying to track down that history, right? Yeah, that goes back to the teleological fallacy. Exactly. Because it's not that those civilizations were more primitive. In some ways, they were more advanced. They left behind less mess than we went with all of our plastics and our... They just have different kinds of technologies, social technologies and agricultural technologies and things like that. So, yeah, it's not as fluid as, like, So it's like the opposite end of the scientific spectrum from like lingual, ethno-lingual history analysis, right? Like trying to piece together the stories of people groups by looking at similarities their languages have to other languages. Is a little more of a like shady, like guessing science. This is kind of the opposite extreme, but still a little bit of a guess. When you're trying to look at what chemicals are available, right? And so the biological theory of time travel followed very naturally from that. Like, if we can guess backwards these compounds, what if we can recreate backwards the history of these compounds? But we do it very specifically, experientially in you. Yeah. So you're going to be peeing purple and green for a little bit. Yeah. I'm really excited, though, that you managed to get this done. Are you okay? I know I keep asking that because it's an intense experience. That's right. Not as intense as the time you fought Cthulhu. Roger that. Every time somebody has to go fight Cthulhu, it's very stressful, and then you all have heart attacks and stuff on the way back. Yeah, I've had a few people come back from the time travel trips, though, with, nightmares or other things like that. So, because it depends on where we're sending you to. Sometimes you can be very lucky and you might have an idyllic lifetime in a farmhouse, and all we need you to do is steal or notice something that needed to be stolen. And then a lot of times people come back with very strong emotions about it. So we're going to be watching you for the next couple days, okay? You are not allowed to be pillaging or anything like that. So I know that you feel right now, you feel like a Viking. And you have to understand that there were a lot of things that they did that were very bad and that are not acceptable. And of course you feel like there's an honor in raiding and that weakness deserves to be punished and some of these other feelings that you're gonna have. Yeah, I did my homework. Am I wrong? See, that's what I thought. But you feel good. Be careful you don't get addicted. Some of the warrior classes, it can be a little bit addicting to be when you go back in time and kind of feel that honor and that power. So, but it is not acceptable to pillage and rape, okay? Okay, I figured. I know it feels very different when you're in that person's memories and because you feel like you were that person. So that's another reason that we, as part of the molecular memory, we try to select people that have some of that ancestry when we go to different places, because if we can get you as close to the descendant as possible, or as close to the genetics that we have available, sometimes that helps, but it's not necessary. All the time we're all made of the same carbon in some sense, but it can help. So, and I've noticed, and I don't have any scientific evidence for this, but I have noticed that people who do have an ancestry in the people group they visited tend to have a almost harsher reaction coming back, like they feel like they were there and that was theirs. Mm-hmm. Well, especially if you were back in the mind of a family member. But in this case, this wasn't a family member. So yeah, the different descents definitely makes a difference. It's crazy, huh? But I think it's a good way to see, because we have to see other times through their own eyes, right? Because there's a lot of things, because fashion changes throughout time, just like it changes from different places. There are different morals and different beliefs that people have at different periods of time. I'm not saying that that's right, because, you know that I believe in an absolute right and wrong. But at the same time, how people understood that or what people thought that was, the fact that there are cultural changes. And so it's not like, the teleological fallacy, it's not like people used to be bad and they're evolving to become more progressive. It's completely teleological fallacy. You'll see different belief systems popping up and down all throughout periods of history. There are periods of history where They had certain views of gender equality that are completely different than we have today, and that are completely different again than what we had, 50 years ago here. So, things change in all different directions, and all different people groups have their own completely different. It's not like it's going in a line. It's like it goes in a spike in all directions, right? Because all different people groups had their own ways of thinking about things. And while there are trends throughout human history, and that's what anthropology is, it's generalization about human trends, right? And then philosophy, and in some ways theology, is just codification of those trends, like understanding these commonalities that we all hold to be self-evident truths. Because there are some commonalities. There's, even people groups that had, high mortality rates and everyone was killing everybody. At some point, there were certain people who didn't want to be killed, right? At some point, there was a rule about who you could or could not kill, or if it was okay to retaliate, or these different things. Even in people groups like certain people groups in Ecuador, where there's incredibly high violence rate, and mortality. People didn't live longer than their 20s because it was so common to kill each other. Even in those people groups, people did not want to die, and so there's a commonality in that, in starting to establish and codify how do I not die, right? So all of the different. So what I'm saying is there may be a lot of different rules, but there's still some commonality, right? However, I think the benefit of studying history, or the benefit of time traveling, and really studying history, not reading textbooks, but reading the primary sources, reading what the people themselves wrote, looking at the archaeological data, like really getting into history itself. The huge benefit to it is you start to see all these different ways of thinking. It's kind of like traveling. Like if you travel to another place and learn their language, you begin to find like you have totally a different, things are different everywhere, It's not like one people group is better than another, maybe in a certain era, right, or a certain thing. Like one people group might have more advanced farming technology, or another people group might have superior moral laws in certain areas, right, where they might have improved lifespan, or on the other hand they might have improved freedom. They might have, there's different kinds of things that they might have. Different cultures have different pluses and minuses, and I think the benefit that you've had now as you time travel is so you can analyze as an outsider. You can look at the historical data, for example, and you can see that the Vikings were very big on slave trade, not of their own people, but they would kidnap other Europeans, other people of other colors than themselves as well, and sell them all over. So they were selling white slaves into the Middle East because there was a big call for that there. They were selling black slaves elsewhere. Like, the Vikings were raiders, but there's that aspect too, right? You don't want to worship a people group because there are horrible things to it. A lot of the sexual history with the Vikings, incredibly violent and oppressive against, pretty much it was similar to the Romans, in that there was a person who was supreme, and then there was a second person, and you never want to be the penetrated person, right? Because you're a second class in that way. On the other hand, you have, when it comes to like female equality, Viking warriorship was for females was never like banned or disallowed or anything like that. Versus you have other people groups where like women were seen as inferior and not allowed to do that. So there's all kinds of there's all kinds of different things going on. And we can't even be black and white about it, because one group of Vikings in the Russian steppes would have certain traditions. A group of Vikings in Iceland would have other traditions. Danish Vikings would have other traditions. You had Christian Vikings. It's not true that there were not Christian Vikings. There absolutely were. You had Odinite Vikings. You had people of all different belief systems. And so what one Viking might believe isn't the same as what another Viking would believe, right? And then plus again, you might have different healing, different beliefs about there were debates, right? No society is monolithic. And so understanding that, and understanding the complexity of human nature, understanding the things that they would have hidden, the things that they would have shared, you've had the wonderful opportunity to be able to see things through their eyes, and so that's good. And of course, as you're kind of recovering and integrating back into our normal society, it's good to kind of correct some of those things in your mind, and not in a harsh way, because I don't want you then to be discouraged coming back and be sad because people that you respect did bad stuff. But just making sure that you balance out the experience you had with other experiences so that your life is round and not, you know what I mean? So we're going to have, basically, to tell you what's going to go on with the debriefs, you're going to work on your report before you've studied anything else, because we don't want to tarnish your brain too much. I've already a little bit said too many things. You're going to work on your report. After that, you're gonna dig into some research. You and the research team will kind of work together, and along with that research, you're gonna kind of focus on grounding yourself. That's something I want you to focus on doing. Grounding yourself, seeing the things that, maybe were good and bad, the things that you would recommend, the things that you can take away from the experience, and the things you need to leave. And we'll have a lot of therapy sessions through this, just to make sure that you're progressing nicely. The archaeology team and the research team is going to be really focused, while you're doing the research portion together, on finding the axe, right? That's all they care about. They want the axe. You also need to focus on finding you, okay? Coming back to the 2020 and finding you. Exactly. Okay? So that's why I tell it's going to make such a big difference. Do you have memories about it? Okay. That's good. Well, I mean, they have, if you ever end up wanting to get one of your own, like it, there's a website called usknifeforyou.com. Yeah. I still have a coupon code with them, becoming 10. Yeah, you can use that. Absolutely, to try to get you a good axe. Yeah. No, I had a guy who came back from, where was it? It wasn't the Ashanti people group. It was another. He came back and he really wanted this sword, and I was like, honey, first off, it's going to be really hard for you to find that sword anywhere. Second off, it's shaped like a penis, buddy. You don't want this sword. He took a couple weeks to think about it. He realized that getting one made for real would be like $3,000, and he didn't actually need it. So sometimes you can balance. What I'm saying is, I would think before making a purchase. But I mentioned that site because they're high quality, and they're pretty affordable too, for extremely high quality. Yeah. So usknifeforyou.com and becoming 10. So yeah, if you need to satiate some of that Viking thirst right now, you can go online. You can look at some of the pictures. But let's wait until you finish your work coming back here. And then don't make any purchases until you've had a couple more mental health sessions. Yeah. Tell me, do you feel what do you feel emotionally right now? Okay. Do you feel down or discouraged? Okay. Do you feel an interest in things? Like that you can experience pleasure? Or do you have a loss of interest in things you enjoy? Okay. And then I kind of want to go through the PCL5 with you real quick too. But we can go over that afterwards too. PCL5. So we'll go through the PCL5 for you real quick. Well, we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to do PCL5 about a month from now. I forgot that it requires a month. But any really big traumatic event that I should know about that happened? Okay. After the battle? Okay. Alright, so we'll just have to track that. So in your report, I want you to be really detailed, write out every single thing that happened, and part of that is for your mental health, so that you can metabolize all this and get to work right away. I don't want you to avoid Viking stuff. I don't want you to avoid things that remind you of being stabbed, because evidence actually shows that people are more likely to get, so they did a study on soldiers that were returned to the fight immediately after a traumatic event versus soldiers that were separated from it. Soldiers who returned to the fight immediately had lower incidences of PTSD versus soldiers who were coddled or kept away from it. Partly because it helps your brain to normalize what happened, right? And make it kind of, I know it sounds kind of terrible, it's almost like a desensitization, but it helps to normalize. So there's a big therapy technique that a lot of therapists will use called extinction therapy, where when someone does have PTSD, they'll make them listen to themselves recount the event over and over again until they kind of work through it and understand the narrative in a way that works for them. I don't love that technique, but it actually does. It has been used on me. Not to that extreme. I just had to write stuff out and then read it to myself. It does make a difference. So part of while you're doing this report, I want you to be real detailed, write everything that happened, okay? And then you let me know if you have any weird dreams tonight. We'll be monitoring you pretty closely. Exactly. A lot of this is standard stuff. Most people, they bounce right back from it. They're like, wow, this was a cool adventure. I'm going to go right back and try again, do a different thing. You do have to wait. I think you're going to have to wait 2 or 3 months before you can go back in, because your system has to metabolize all the biochemical anomalies. Exactly. So I'm going to need you to just take things... Don't take things easy. Dive right into stuff, dive right into your life. Keep things going. Keep your brain moving, right? Keep moving. But also don't be afraid to stop and let me know if we need to take a pause. Yep, get right back into your same exercise regimen. Diet. Are you hungry right now? Okay. Are you gonna want ebliskiva? We can make some Danish food for you to because you're gonna be homesick for it now. It's perfect. I just happen to have some Danish ancestry myself, so I can help you out. Alright,
Alright, well, it's always good chatting with you. But, I'll let you just enjoy the art. We don't have to talk all the time. I see you're very focused. Alright. peace, dear one. I would like to leave you in a world of dreams. Good night. Don't forget to support the channel at patreon.com/becominghero and join the secret agency at the link in the description. Joining the secret agency is free, and make sure that you and I will be able to contact each other even if for some reason YouTube decides to ban or remove me. So if you like me, join the secret agency so that I will always be available to you. And finally, you can support the channel and independent artisans by going to usknifeforyou.com and purchasing your own Damascus steel with the code BECOMING10, which gives you 10% off. Consider doing that so that you can have a practical, beautiful tool